You've seen it, right? You're watching a game, and suddenly, everything just clicks for a team. They're moving as one, thinking with a single mind, they're perfectly in sync. We've always called it team chemistry, that kind of magical thing that makes a good team great. But what if it's not just some fuzzy magical concept? What if I told you we can actually measure it? Well, it turns out we can, and we're going to dive into the science that makes it all happen. I mean, think about it. You hear sports commentators say this kind of stuff all the time. They're not just looking at one player. They're reading the whole team's body language, the rhythm of the game, and they're making a call on the mood of the entire group. It's like they can sense this shared feeling, this collective emotion that's zipping from one player to the next. So that raises the big question, right? Is that feeling, that team chemistry, something we can actually measure? For the longest time, the answer was kind of nah. It was an art, not a science. You just knew it when you saw it. But what if you could put a number on it? What if you could actually track that chemistry as it's happening? Well, some really cool new research is doing just that. And the scientific term for this is collective synchrony. Now, I know it sounds a little academic, but the idea behind it is actually pretty straightforward. It's when a group of people basically fall into alignment with each other on a whole bunch of different levels. We're not just talking about their actions, but how they move, how they think, how they feel, and even how their bodies are physically responding, all at the same time. So whenever we say team chemistry, what scientists are really seeing is collective synchrony. Okay, so what does this collective synchrony actually look like in the real world? Well, it breaks down into four main channels. First, you've got behavioral synchrony. That's the obvious one, the team physically moving together. Then there's cognitive synchrony, which is super cool. It means they're all thinking together, basically on the same page. Third is emotional synchrony, which is exactly what that commentator was picking up on, that shared feelings spreading through the team. And then, and this is wild, there's physiological synchrony. This is where their bodies, we're talking heart rates and stuff, literally start to sync up with each other. Crazy, right? So how does a team get into this state? It doesn't just happen out of thin air. Researchers say it's built on three key ingredients, kind of like steps. Step one is just co-presence, simply being together in the same space. That's the foundation. From there, you need a shared task, a common goal, like winning the match. And finally, that shared task forces the most important step, coordination. This is where everyone has to actively work together, arranging their actions to hit that group goal. Put them all together, and you get the conditions for synchrony. Okay, so to actually see this in action, scientists did something pretty amazing. They took a Division I women's soccer team, a top-tier team, and they kitted them out with GPS and biometric sensors for an entire competitive season. We're talking data on every single run, every change of pace, every moment of every game, all to see if they could actually capture a picture of this collective synchrony. And here it is. This graph is literally what that synchrony looks like. So each of those colored lines, that's the running speed of a different player. Now look at the parts that aren't shaded. The lines are all over the place, right? It looks totally chaotic. That's low synchrony. Everyone's just doing their own thing. But then, look what happens in those shaded gray areas. All of a sudden, the lines start moving together, pulsing up and down in this beautiful, cohesive wave. That, right there, is collective synchrony. That's the data showing us the exact moment the team just clicks. Okay, so how often are these elite teams actually in that state of high synchrony? Well, the results are kind of mind-blowing. The researchers found that this team spent more than 88% of their game time in that high synchrony state. Let that sink in. That means less than 12% of the game was spent in that messy, out-of-sync mode. For a team at this level, being in sync isn't some rare special event. It's their normal default state of being. It's how they win. Now, when a team is in sync pretty much all the time, it creates the perfect environment for something else to happen, something you've probably heard of called a flow state. We all know this feeling, right? It's when you're completely in the zone. You're so absorbed in what you're doing that you lose all track of time, and you're just on fire, performing at your absolute best. But here's the real game changer. Flow isn't just something that happens to one person. Because of this collective synchrony, an entire team can enter a state of collective flow. Think about that. It's not just one person having an amazing game. It's the whole team hitting that peak performance state together at the same time. And players who've been in that state, they describe it as feeling like they're part of something way bigger than themselves. This is where simple team chemistry truly becomes team transcendence. So what does this all mean? The big takeaway is that team chemistry isn't just a buzzword anymore. It's not this mysterious, unknowable thing. It's a real, measurable, observable science called collective synchrony. And that leaves us with a really fascinating question, not just for pro sports coaches, but for anyone who works in a team. If we can actually measure chemistry, does that mean we can start to train for it?